let's start talking about GA. There's an awful lot going on, and there was a huge amount going on. Ballygunner against De La Salle in the county final in Waterford. That was live on TV. And look, De La Salle gave a very good performance early doors. Like, I was watching this and I was very impressed with the physicality that they had early on. They were really wiring into Ballygunner. But Ballygunner were and continue to be just so impressive with the ball. And the thing to me is the mastery of the basic skills is better than almost anybody else in the country. Maybe you can throw up Ballyhale Shamrocks, and there's obviously a couple of others who are right up there. But when the ball goes to a player, how often do they miss first touch? It's almost never. So that's a credit to both the players and the training and the culture in the club as well. It's like just absolutely brilliant the way they do it. And a few times, like De La Salle, as I said, they wired into them. But like now and again, they'd knock the ball up the field and a player would put the hurley to a ball that you could catch. It would spill away. There was one example, I can't remember exactly who it was, one of the inside forwards, and the ball spilled, cleared down the other end. Desi Hutchinson, like it does to all the players, stuck him, turn over the bar. Should have been a score one way, ends up being the other. And I think that's the thing with these teams. Like, if you make a mistake against Ballyhale when you're moving the ball up the field and obviously players are trying to run forward and support, you get turned over. That's when you're most vulnerable. And Ballyhale nearly always punish you. This is obviously when Ballyhale are at the top of their game, not when they're going through the group stages in Kilkenny, when they don't seem to ever perform that much recently. But yeah, that's just the thing about them. They just punish you so much, and surprise, surprise, 10th county title in a row.
Yeah, what you're saying about the kind of skill mastery, they just seem so comfortable in all those basics, really. It's like kind of, we've talked about Limerick down through the years as well, and probably Sean O'Donnell is the link between the two of them. They don't... The pass is always given in favour of the person that's receiving it. It's rarely a sloppy touch. It's rare that a move breaks down or anything like that. It's all those basics done really, really well. And that's just drilling every night. And as I said, they always look comfortable, even when under pressure at different times. And I thought it was even for Pádraig Mahony's goal yesterday, like, you can kind of go blood and thunder or whatever, and Jake Dillon tried to kind of wire into him. It's just it's that little bit of kind of genius over his head, solos in, and like when they got the chance to bury De La Salle before the break, they took it. Like, the damage was done in that 7 or 8 minutes before half time. They smelled a bit of blood and they went straight for the throat. And yeah, like they look probably as good as ever. I thought it was interesting to hear Stephen O'Keefe talking after he was asked about, all the underage teams playing a similar style or whatever, and that they're ready to go and play senior then as a result. And he kind of says, I thought this was kind of pointed enough, like, they don't have 6'5" players, they don't have 6'4", they don't have big giants like Limerick have, so you have to kind of play a bit of a kind of a different way. They play that possession game because and a running game because it suits the type of player that they have. Look at all the ball carriers they have, look at all the pace that they have. So like, you do, and this is one thing that annoys me about managers at different stages. A manager that comes in and brings his philosophy to this team, even if like if you have 6'4", if you have 2 or 3 6'4" lads in attack, you work away to exploit them, I suppose, in attack. If you don't, you work away where you don't have to put long puck outs down. Do you know what I mean? And I just think they're really maxing out what they have. They don't have the big, like, I always look at like some of the marquee forwards, like Joe Canning, Shamie Callan, would say TJ Reid as well. They're big physical players. It takes a certain type of player to mark them and keep them quiet. Do you know what I mean? You can't put a 5'8" guy on them. It just won't work. But Ballygunner don't have really any of those type of players. So they play a different way to exploit Desi Hutchinson, to make sure that he's getting ball in space and he's able to throw that lovely little fake that he throws, and the amount of people he gets to buy it as well. But they have it absolutely honed down to a T. I think it was 3 wides yesterday. When you're hitting the guts of 30 scores in a game and you're hitting 3 wides, like, they're just so efficient in everything that they do.
Like with Desi Hutchinson, you've no choice but to get done by his step and his feint back the other way, because you have to run at 100% just to try and hopefully get a hook in or to keep goal side of him when he's going one way. So you have to go 100%. So when he stops, and obviously he knows he's going to stop before you do, and he takes that step, you're gone. Like, it's so hard to stop when you're running at 100%. Whereas, like, let's say Kyle Walker, if you're to talk about a perfect soccer example, who was able to stop Kylian Mbappe in the World Cup. Like, his running at 95 or 90% will probably keep into almost anyone in the world, which is why he's able to turn back the other way. Or Lillian Thuram, if you want to go back 20 years or whatever. Like, it's brilliant when you're that fast of a player.
Yeah.
You're always kind of you're never out of your control, like, because you never have to bomb absolutely 100% and commit yourself.
It's
But
funny you say that, Shane, as well. Something that's not worked on enough in teams as well is uh, acceleration is always worked on, but deceleration is as important. Like, I always thought that Andy Moore was probably the greatest GA player I've ever seen to decelerate. He decelerated so fast. And if his man was sprinting, like you were saying there, and he's able to put the brakes on real quick, the man has gone past him or whatever. But it's Desi's brilliant at it. And yeah, as you say, he's that step ahead. He knows that he's stopping. His man doesn't know that he's stopping, buys him a yard. And he's playing a kind of a different role with Ballygunner at times this year as well. Maybe out the pitch a little bit more, maybe creating a bit more, because they have Patrick Fitzgerald, who I have to say, he's so sweet, isn't he? Like, he's such a sweet ball striker. And he was quiet enough at stages yesterday, but he just looks like a really sweet player that you could potentially build a Waterford forward line around for the guts of a decade.
River Power says, Jez is the clean, angelic face on the Verney. Looks like he's going for the communion.
No, I tell you what, it was going racing yesterday, and I just felt like it was a bit of a bum kind of going, because I had a lot of just stuff kind of hanging off. And yeah, you sometimes you just feel a lot better when you clean yourself up a little.
And you didn't think about trimming the hair, no?
No, I didn't. No. That's in perfect working order.
Yeah, the old Lego helmet sitting on top of you there. Adrian McGrath says Hutchinson's goal in the semi-final came directly from players not tracking him when he ran right past them. There was no instinct to chase back. You won't see Ballygunner allowing that the other way. That's true. Clean shave for the kid, adds River Power. And I suppose the other end, Ruben Halloran, he was very good. Like, I mean, he's a physical specimen. He got himself 4 points from play and 8 more from plays balls. You don't really expect him to miss, actually, when he's over a free. Thomas Douglas got 4, produced a couple of nice bits of skill. Again,
that little flick was nice now. Yeah, that was nice. That was Mick Kavanagh, 09 All-Ireland final-esque, and a little flick through the legs then as well. It was a beautiful score. But it's just De La Salle required those little bits of genius to get scores almost. Look how much harder they had to work to get a score than Ballygunner. Like, Ballygunners, like, even that score that Tonto Douglas got, he was under pressure, short and grip, was probably lucky to get the strike away. Ballygunner weren't shooting in those type of scenarios. It was all on the front foot. It was all, you had time nearly to settle yourself for the shot. And as I said earlier, they were so efficient in front of the post.
Yeah, ML89 says Fernando Torres, by all accounts, was actually quite average pace, but had ridiculous ability to move between acceleration and deceleration. Was hard to deal with before he lost it with injuries. Do you know, actually, what I'd love to know what people think, and obviously this is a GA show, but I love talking about other sports as well. Fernando Torres went from Liverpool to Chelsea for 50 million, which was massive at the time, to be average money these days. And he was a bit of a flop in terms of, like, he never produced his same scoring rate and never looked the same player. But he scored a goal in the Champions League semi-final, which ensured they got to the final, which they ultimately won against Bayern Munich.
That breakaway goal at the very end, was it?
Yeah, where Gary Neville was like, oh, you know. But I just wonder, does that mean he's not a flop because he had such a crucial moment in a big game, which ensured Chelsea won a title they'd never won before?
I'd say probably, because, like, it's a lot of time. Just think about it, right? You could play in an All-Ireland final and be going poor, but you can have one big moment or one big play, and if you win, that's really all that anyone remembers.
Yeah.
You know, so Torres had a big hand in them winning the Champions League. That's probably all that anyone really remembers. You know what I mean?
Are Ballygunner favourites for the All-Ireland now?
Oh, I think so, yeah. You'd have to say they are. They have the break again before they play. I think it's the Cork champions in a Munster quarter final. They've negotiated the gap really, really well before. They'll probably take a couple of weeks off, go back and start building it up again. Are they better than when Ballyhale beat them in the All-Ireland semi-final earlier this year? Potentially. They ain't worse anyway, I'll put it to you that way. And you wonder, like, is the opposition as good? If Joey Holden's not around for Ballyhale, and if Colin Fennelly's maybe not around at the moment, and I think Adrian Mullen and Paddy Mullen were both missing at the weekend, they have a lot of newcomers in. Are Ballyhale as good? Will Ballyhale get out of Kilkenny this year? Will Thomas's get out of Galway? With David Burke missing, there could be a lot of new faces. Okay, that's fair enough. I don't know. I think
Thomas's again.
Again, David Connors did it last week. I'm going to do it here. I think Loughrea have a right good chance in Galway. I think Ballyhale might be taken down in Kilkenny too, being honest with you. It's a bit of a one-man band with Owen Cody there at the minute. So I think there could be a lot of new provincial faces. Maybe Dunlight might come out of Ulster again if they can get out of Antrim. But I think there could be a lot of new faces on the block, and I think the betting market or whatever after the county championships could look a lot different than previous years. We might see a few new names, and even if we don't see new names, are those old names going as well as they were before? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, well, Richard Hogan says Fenley is home, so I trust in that. If he's
wasn't playing, but by all accounts at the weekend.
Well, if he's home, right, I think Ballyhale will still find a way to win that county title because they've won 5 in a row now. I think they're like, when they're anywhere near full strength, I think teams fairly well fear them in Kilkenny, and they can say what they like, but I think they've always got that 4 or 5 point buffer, and if they're coming down last against a team that's pretty tight, they have that belief and that muscle memory to get over the line. Even at the weekend, as we'll talk about a little bit later on, what was it, 8 points they were behind on James Stevens?
9,
heading in towards injury time, and they still managed to get a result out of it. I don't know, I think they'll be hard bet, and then they'll probably come through Leinster, assuming that they get there that bit easier than Ballygunner will come through Munster. Now, I would still make Ballygunner favourites to win Munster, but you see...
You've played a lot of games there in 15 seconds, I'll tell you that. There's a lot of county championships won and lost in the last 10 seconds there.
Yeah, River Power says Ruben is some bit of stuff. What age is he? He was under 21 last year, or even under 20 last year, so he must be only around 20 years of age. And by the way, I just think, like, obviously Kevin Moran is some yoke to still be going, but it just didn't really work for him in the full forward line. And Barry Coughlin being stuck on top of a pacey player like Barry Coughlin, who's very good at spoiling lads as well. That was going to be very tough. Joe Butler says, by the way, Ballyhale were missing Adrian Paddy and Darren Mullen, along with others. Have to mention Peter Hogan. I thought from the get-go in the match against De La Salle, he just looked so sharp. And again, like you mentioned, well, I mentioned, I suppose, Ballygunner, the amount of players that they have that when the ball comes to them, it sticks every time. They're on the front foot. They play a nice ball to each other. Like Hogan, every time the ball came anywhere near him, his hand was just like a Venus flytrap. His finish for the goal was very good. Could have had one before that as well that he blasted over. I just think he's an excellent player. We didn't see too much of him for Watford last year. And Davy Fitz, who was down there, there's no way he would have missed how good Hogan was. And I'd see him having, assuming he's fit, a big role for Watford again next year.
Yeah, and Davy was bigging him up at half time as well, saying he was the best player on the field as well. There's a good few, like, people kind of bemoan the fact that there's not that many Ballygunner lads in with Watford, but the few that are in there, like, you'd expect Kevin Mahoney to see more game time next year as well. Like, he was so dangerous at different times yesterday. You'd expect maybe Paddy Levy to see more time. He obviously played against Peter Hogan as well. Like, there's a lot of guys, they mightn't have, the Pádraig Mahoney's or the Philip Mahoney's or Stephen O'Keefe's involved or Barry Coughlin's, but they still have a hell of a lot to offer Waterford with the likes of Peter Hogan and a few other lads like that. And yeah, he was brilliant yesterday. When he's given that sort of space or latitude to kind of do as he likes, he has to be kind of, the problem is that he has to be kind of shackled or whatever, but there was so many lads that had to be shackled yesterday that certain lads are going to fall through the cracks, and that was just the nature of it. Like, Desi was good, Patrick Fitzgerald was good, neither of them were unbelievable like they can be, and Ballygunner still put up the score that they did, and Peter Hogan and others did the damage.
Yeah, and Pádraig Mahoney, I definitely still do with him at county level. I'm sure Davy Fitz is sniffing around him, and maybe even Philip Mahoney. Probably feels like there's less of a chance of getting Philip because he's gone from it for maybe 3 years now. Whereas
no hope, I'd say.
Yeah, whereas Pádraig, maybe just 1 year, maybe he'd consider going back in again. But like, he's such a good player, who wouldn't want to have him in there? It's PWell74 says, saw Patrick's well in Kilmallock last Thursday evening, really high standard that Ballygunner haven't played against this year. Not saying that they would beat Ballygunner, but more battle hardened. And the other thing actually is, as we talk about those Ballygunner players who are still at the peak of their powers, including Barry Coughlin, who would be great to have for that Waterford team as well. It just reminds me of the cooler thing as well that I was involved in, that a lot of the lads that were, mainstays or involved with the county team, they started to drift away from from the county scene and seem to be really happy with their life as club hurlers. Slightly less, and I mean they'd done nice stints at county level. Well, some of them were younger lads who just decided to play with the county only rather than with the club. And maybe there's an element to that in the Ballygunner thing as well, that you really are getting the fix that you want. You're training at a high level, you're doing things really well, you're achieving and all that kind of stuff. So maybe the county thing is like, you know what, life's quite good here. I've just spent the last 6 months playing club. I don't know if I want to go back in and spend 6 months with, another team trying to push to another level altogether and not have the same balance that I just had for the last 6 months.
100% that can happen. Plus, they've had the same management team for the last 5 or 6 years. They know all the players inside out. They know, like, Pádraig Matney's had like serious knee trouble and various injuries down through the years. They know how to manage him. If he only, I'm not saying he does this, but if he only needs to do 2 sessions a week, then the management know that and know that he's going to deliver, everything on match day. I don't know if Shane O'Sullivan still does every bit that the younger lads do. I think he does, actually. I think he said in an interview with you actually there before the club series last year that he pretty much does the same training. Like, but if he didn't, like, he's a good bit older. Like, he doesn't need to, and the management will, afford him that latitude. At county level, there's no latitude whatsoever. Like, I don't think there's hardly a county set up in the country, maybe bar TJ Reid. I don't know who else where you'd say, no, you don't have to do the same training as everybody else. Generally at county level. Yeah, maybe. We don't know the ins and outs of it, but maybe. But it's only for that really special player, and it's the exception to the rule. Whereas at club level, there's that bit more latitude, and they all know each other. Darragh O'Sullivan's a Ballygunner man. Like, do you know what I mean? He's seen Pádraig Matney or Shane O'Sullivan for the last 25 years playing. Do you know what I mean? He knows them inside out. And plus they know that, yeah, exactly, yeah. Plus they know that those boys that maybe are stepping away from county, they know they're going back into a setup that's as close you'll get as inter-county at club level. Like, the fact that, like, David Franks is there now as coach, he's going in with Wexford. They've Shawnee O'Donnell as well, who's inter-county, like the best in the business. Like, they don't want for anything at club level. So I'd say I don't see Pádraig Matney coming back once he's played very little county. You have to remember, Jesus, he's played very little county since 2019 when you think about it, really, between all the injuries and COVID and the cruise shit and that. So I wouldn't see him going back. And his performance against Napirshick last year was one of the best performances he's ever delivered. So I think they're all pretty happy with where they are, and they know that there's more boxes to tick with Ballygunner, I'd say, as well.
Yeah, the club needs a shake-up, says ML89. Feels like Napirshick, Thomas's, Ballyhale, Ballygunner, Schlockneil/Dunloy have been thereabouts for the guts of a decade at later stages for an All-Ireland. The other thing, though, is, like, I think clubs that are used to playing at a certain level, which would include a lot of those, there's almost an element of they get up to a level and they pull the ladder up after them, because the gap grows so much that, a club that's trying to chase or really kind of bridge that gap, there's so many areas that you have to catch up. And I think it can be very, very difficult, especially if you don't have a massive pick in your club. If you don't, you talked earlier about having the size profile of certain players. If you just happen to be a club that has, a lot of small lads and you don't find the right balance in your team, or a lot of big lads and you don't find the right balance, but when teams race off ahead, it can take a long time to get up to that level. And maybe for it to become competitive within the county, that top team has to drop rather than other teams being able to lift it sometimes.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, as I was chatting to Donal O'Rourke, who's involved with Salle yesterday, and he just said, like, it's like the high jump record. The bar is set. The bar is not going to be lowered at all. The bar is only getting higher. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way it is. And Adrian McGrath makes a good point here. Clare would definitely be an example of Brian Lohan maybe letting lads on individual programs at times. Like, Shane O'Donnell is probably an exception to the rule as well, where he only really comes back and plays championship. I'd say Tony Kelly is managed well. I'd say John Conlon is kind of managed well as well. But they are the exceptions to the rule, and you have to have a fair amount of credit in the bank as well, like serious amount of credit in the bank to have earned that.
Yeah, and Adrian adds older, injury prone, whatever, in terms of, like, he's been asked by River Power, is it the older lads he's referring to? Richard Hogan, I should say, says great win for Ferrybank. And also Kev Kyo adds in Ferrybank to stop Ballygunner 11 in a row next year. What a win on Saturday, and an even better night to follow. So that was a victory over Cappoquin in the Premier Intermediate final. But Shane O'Sullivan now has 13 county titles, and there's a few lads there, the likes of Stephen O'Keefe, and is it also Philip Mahoney? No, it wouldn't have been, because he got an injury at some stage for one of the years. But a couple of players have won in all 10 of those. Shane O'Sullivan has won 13 county titles. And I was kind of racking my brains before we started the show. Who's had more than that? And viewers, please get your comments in and let us know who's had more county title wins than that. But Paul Hearty is one that jumped out straight away. So he's the Crossmaglen Rangers longtime goalkeeper. He's now retired. Armagh as well. 19 Armagh titles, 11 Ulster titles, 6 All-Ireland clubs. That's 36 titles. But if you want to just keep it to county titles only, tell us. But if you want to include provincial and All-Ireland, also let us know. Kevin Heffernan, former, Heffo's Army and so on. Before that, as a player, 21 Dublin club championships, 15 football and 6 hurling, all with St. Vincent.
Do you feel like because of his managerial achievements that's often forgotten? Like,
well, same with Mick O'Dwyer.
Yeah, brilliant.
So
like Miko, by all accounts, if you chat anyone down in Kerry, like they'd say Miko, like was Miko footballer of the year kind of before it was properly introduced. I think he was in the
He was
60s.
footballer of the year when he was manager. So I think they just decided to name him footballer of the year, even though he wasn't playing for whatever reason, because they went so well. Let me just look that up, but go ahead and finish off whatever.
Yeah, like I just feel like Kevin Heffernan's achievements as a manager, you probably forget what he achieves. Probably somewhat similar to Brian Cody, the fact that he managed or he captain Kilkenny to an All-Ireland win as well, but because his managerial achievements are so big or whatever, you kind of forget, you kind of don't talk about his playing achievements as much, but some other good ones as well. Mick Mackey, obviously, probably Limerick's all-time greatest player, even though there's a few lads probably chasing him down at the moment. He has 15 Limerick hurling titles and 5 football. Like, I think isn't it great? Like with Heffo as well, who has 21 Dublin championships, 15 football and 6 hurling. If you can throw like 2 codes into it as well, the fact that you were doing it at both codes is outstanding. And there's a good one here. Joe Henry who Joe Butler, I'm sure, will know of. He said he has 23 Mayo senior hurling titles with Turin and 1 Mayo senior football title with Shamrocks in 1977, which he believes is a national record. He's 3 Railway Cups as well, 2 National League hurling titles, and was also part of 2 All-Star trips to America in the 70s. Like, if there's any other, I know someone has up Kev Keogh has Ballymacarbie ladies on 42 in a row county titles in Waterford. A few of those ladies must have a right collection. Yeah, I'd say there's some well into their mid-20s as well. Keep all your suggestions coming, because it's funny, like there might be county titles or obscure ones that maybe we're overlooking, but we'd love to know who's on the highest roll of honour for county titles in the country.
Yeah, I can't find out. Do you remember who the name of the sponsor of the footballer of the player of the year before Texaco?
No, I do. If you said it, I'd know it straight away, but I can't think of it offhand here at the moment.
I'll see if any of our viewers can before I throw in the answer. Paul Mooney says Christy Ring had 14 county titles. Richard Hogan suggests that TJ must have double-digit county titles.
11, I think, yeah. 11, and does he have, what has he got? 5, 6 All-Irelands as well? Him, Owen Reid, Mark Aylward,
Colin Fennelly, even though he would have been a sub at the very start.
They all have, I think there might be one more, is there? They all have a ridiculous haul of club medals.
Ballymacarbie ladies on 42 in a row in Waterford. A few of those ladies must have a right collection. Cora Staunton with Carnacon. Didn't they win something like 23 in a row, 24?
Yeah, I think she has the guts of them all, I think, as well.
Yeah, didn't Conlon do his back prior to the semi-final in 2022 doing weights at home? As I was looking up the Mick O'Dwyer stuff, did you read out some of the other players who have all?
Yeah, no, I did. I went through Mick Mackey and Joe Henry, Kevin Heffernan, etc. Yeah.
Okay, so like we said already, Ferrybank, they beat Cappoquin 222 to 114 in the Waterford Premier Intermediate Final. 114 from Mark O'Brien was crucial there. Portlaw were beaten by Bricky Rangers in the Intermediate Final as well. Junior
just on Mark O'Brien really quickly. So there was a good line from the captain, the Ferrybank captain. He's Robbie Carew. He just said about Mark O'Brien, he pulled his hamstring, so he's in ice chambers up in Thurles all week. That man doesn't stop working. We'll go off on the beer for a couple of weeks, but MOB won't. He'll go working harder. So just to score 114 and be out with a hamstring injury is some going too.
Yeah, Seamus Keaton scored 112, 1-2 that from play as Ardmore beat Roanmore in the Junior A final as well. Former county minor James Flavin hit 1-1.